For Body Chemistry Associates and Health Connection Radio, I'm your host, Jay Foster. Today I want to talk about something that came up years ago, and most of you probably won't remember this unless you're in this field, but as a biochemist, I was studying tryptophan metabolism and serotonin production now for the last 41 years, and so I'm very familiar with how to make serotonin, how the brain makes it, and how it makes melatonin. Serotonin is a natural antidepressant. That's why a lot of people are on those SSRI drugs that are laden with side effects like Prozac and Zoloft and Paxil and all the other ones. And they have their own side effects. And I remember, I'll tell you a little bit of history with this. When I first started out, it was widely known that if you give, and you cannot take this if you're on an SSRI drug or other psychiatric drugs, so certainly call us before you would ever take this if you're on those medications. If you're not on medications, then this is something you can include or try at least. So when I first got into this, everyone knew that tryptophan, if you give it dietarily in a capsule, that it would help with sleep, it would help with depression, help with anxiety. Everybody loved it. And everybody in my field in nutrition knew that. Medical doctors, the good ones that were into nutrition at that time, I'm talking 30, 40 years ago, and nutritionists and other people that were schooled in using this. So tryptophan, what did that do? Well, tryptophan, when you take it by mouth, goes into serotonin. First, it's transferred into 5-hydroxytryptophan, or 5-HTP, in a 10-to-1 ratio. So if you give 500 milligrams of tryptophan, it's the same as giving 50 milligrams of 5-HTP, which is pretty widely available now. And keep the numbers low and build them up slowly if you need them. So tryptophan is metabolized into 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan. And then the next step is serotonin. So by giving tryptophan, you raise serotonin that way. You also do it by giving 5-HTP. 50 milligrams of that, or 500 milligrams of L-tryptophan, the amino acid. And then, so you give tryptophan, it goes into 5-HTP, then into serotonin. People's moods were elevated. And then if it's dark outside, or inside, the serotonin is converted in the pineal gland in the brain to melatonin in 2 steps, which is the sleep chemical. And that's the best way to take it, rather than taking large doses. If you're going to take melatonin, we start with 0.5 milligrams, a half a milligram in adults. Now, there's 5 milligram, which is 10 times that, available on the shelves, and I think that's way too much. That's doing watch repair, with fine little tools, but using a jackhammer to do it. You're way over the dose, So you can do very, very small doses, and they usually work better. But if you give enough tryptophan, or 5-HTP, you probably won't even have to worry about melatonin. Now, that whole scenario happened for about the first 10 years of my practice in the field of nutritional biochemistry. And then all of a sudden, one day, a person came in and said, my doctor just put me on a new drug for depression called Prozac. So I looked it up. And Prozac worked by keeping more serotonin in the brain. And the first thought that went through my mind was that someone at Eli Lilly, who made Prozac, was going to get sacked. They were going to be fired because anybody could just walk across the street to a drugstore or a health food store and plop down about $10 and get a bottle of tryptophan that'll last them for the whole month. And here's this expensive new drug called Prozac that's got to be laden with side effects that does the same thing. So I thought when they found that out, someone at Eli Lilly was going to lose their job. But that didn't happen, because in a very short period of time, where tryptophan was being mainly manufactured in a laboratory in Japan called Showa Denko Labs, someone dumped poison. Someone created a poison batch of tryptophan, a dimer. It actually happened through Monsanto and was their first genetic engineering product. tragically enough. And they created a chemical, and it was only shipped to this country, even though tryptophan was made by this company and shipped all over the world. The poison batch was only sent to America. And there were a bunch of people got sick with this EMS, eosinophilic myalgic syndrome, which is where the eosinophils go sky high and they penetrate in the muscles. Very, very painful, and it can cause death. There were 13 deaths, I believe. And so tryptophan was taken off the market, and Prozac soared to over $1 billion that year. And then all the other ones, Zoloft and Paxil, came around, the Me Too drugs, and they made, multi-billion dollars for the drug companies. And tryptophan, which is the natural formula, was taken off the market. Now, they did that correctly, I believe. They had to identify what was going on. But it didn't have to stay off the market as long as it did. And there was a lot of money type of politics involved. It was mainly money. And tryptophan was taken off the market. The only thing we could use then was 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan. Now, 5-hydroxytryptophan had a totally different manufacturing protocol than tryptophan did. And it came from griffonia seeds. So it was going to be announced at the Mayo Clinic that 5-HTP contained the same chemical that they took the tryptophan off the market for, when that would have been impossible because they are two different manufacturing processes. So I left, I was out in Las Vegas for a nutrition convention, and I asked permission for the speaker, Alex Schaus, and his references, and I flew back on the red eye to Miami to get here at 5, 6 in the morning to get over to the radio station. At that time I had, I had an 8 o'clock show after Atkins was on 790, the good old days, way back when. And I told people that if you hear a story that comes out this week that the Mayo Clinic has found the same poison in 5-HTP as in tryptophan, don't believe them because it's false. And I don't think it ever saw much of the light of day, but it was a ridiculous thing. So if you're not on an SSRI drug like Prozac or Zoloft or Paxil, and or an SSRI or any drug, don't take this. But if you're not and you want to try to take a little bit for adults, 500 milligrams of tryptophan, I'd suggest it before bed, or 50 milligrams of 5-HTP. If you'd like some more information on this topic, or we have both of those products at Body Chemistry Associates, you can give us a call at 1-800-CHEMIST. That's 1-800-243-6478. We have lots of information on our website at 1-800-CHEMIST.com, lots of old radio shows on various different topics. More information, 1-800-CHEMIST, 1-800-CHEMIST.com. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Jay Foster and Health Connection Radio for Body Chemistry Associates will be with you on a future podcast.